Hey guys, Joel's here with another reasoning session, and today I want to share a verse from the Oracle of Nahum.
Come now and let us reason together. Come now, we can talk it over.
Literally just jumped off the page at me. Again, these things, like, sometimes I'll just be reading and there's a message pertinent to not only what's going on in current events and situations, but just, what we as individuals might be dealing with on an individual level. So this is the last verse of chapter 2 from the Oracle of Nahum, and it says, "Behold, I am against you, says Yahweh of hosts." And we remember from our earlier sessions that Yahweh is literally a word that in ancient Hebrew is a participle for the to be verb, and it means that which is and continues to be and always has been. It literally refers to the state of automatic generation, the principle in creation that exists as, what you put out is what you get back. As you sow, so shall you reap. As above, so below, right? As within, so without. All these principles are embodied, seed time and harvest. When there's night, there's day, the swinging of the pendulum. All these different ways of saying the same thing. And that principle is the principle of divine justice, right? What goes around comes around. The circle is inevitably closed. So this principle is talking and speaking out, It says, like, woe to the bloody city. It's full of lies and robbery. The prey departs not. Right? That's the beginning of the next chapter. But in this verse, he says, I am against you. This principle of divine retribution, divine justice. And I will burn her chariots in the smoke. So the chariots, of course, refer to the principles of whatever vehicles they're using to get their agenda into the world, to bring it to pass and to actually bring it into fruition, whatever agenda they have. So the chariots will burn in smoke, and the sword shall devour your young lions. All the beasts and these creatures, if you will, that are just devouring the populace will be slayed by the sword. And what is the higher dimensional sword? Well, that is the Logos. And I'm not talking just the written word. I'm talking about the oracles, the truth that comes through, the message from divine source that is saying, turn from your corruption. Whatever that I didn't like that was going on, I'm putting a stop to so that you can wake up and actually reassess your life. Choose what's important and make a decision. Step forward and embody that truer, fuller fulfillment of who you're here to be. And when you do, you will face a harvest that suits who you're here to be, right? But if you keep running from me like Jonah and you go in the opposite direction, trying to get away from me, well, guess what? I made the whole creation, right? Everything exists as a matter of this principle of seed time and harvest. So if you sow a seed of running, you're going to reap likewise, right? But those very lions that have been preying on us will be slain by this power, this Logos. And on top of that, it says, I will cut off your prey from the earth. So not only will the lions be cut off, but the very prey that they're preying upon, the populace, the people that are buying into the propaganda or playing along, or, you see it all the time. Your family members, you're trying to wake up and they're not buying it because they're totally programmed. Well, guess what? Eventually this tipping point is going to come to the place where even they won't be prey any longer. And the voice of your messengers, it continues, shall no more be heard. And what are we talking about when we talk about messengers? We're talking about the media, the people propagating this message, this narrative. And I don't need to say that it's a false narrative, but this narrative that's totally manipulated the society that we once knew and just decimated it, right? And it's like people are just waiting for the narrative to end. And that's going to continue because people always look to a messenger to tell them what to do, no matter who it is. But that voice that we have been subject to as the prey is going to be cut off and no more be heard. And that is what divine justice says, is that when there's false messengers, in other places it might call them, prophets of Baal, which are just spokespeople for when we put filters in front of source, right? We define source in terms of an institution, or, you know, before it was like idols or little cults, right? However we define this source energy that's coming through to enlighten us, to bring us into a whole unity where we function in harmony with creation, that voice is coming through, and that voice will always triumph. When truth is spoken, it always has a way of standing up to scrutiny, even despite the censorship, even though it looks like, you know, they're shutting everything down. If you don't agree with them, and hey, you don't agree with their terms and conditions, what does that even mean, right? That just means that you said something that's true. If you said something that's true and that's making people's heads turn and causing people to think and ask questions, they can't put up with that, right? Anybody silencing free thought and just general inquisitiveness, right? You're just asking questions. Why don't they want you to ask questions? Because the very questions that you may be asking might be threatening them. It's just a might be. They have to silence all forms of dissent. And that's what we're looking at. So when they resort to that level of control, divine justice has to resort to a level where things are cleaned up, and there's no question about that. This game is over. No matter what it looks like in the physical realm, no matter how long it might seem to take, even like I said in my last reasoning session, you know, sometimes it just seems like this is dragging on, and we're wondering, you know, when is it going to happen? When are we going to finally be able to do what we've been planning to do now, maybe for a year, you know? Don't worry, because that divine justice is already here. It's already playing out on levels that we can't see, and the only reason why they're forcing it on the bottom level of society, you know, where we really can't see what's going on, pulling the strings, the only reason they're forcing us down into this level is because they know we're waking up. They know we're speaking our truth, so they have to put these physical signs like muzzles and distancing to keep us from collaborating, because that collaboration is already begun. It's already happening on the higher dimensions. So don't think that nothing's happening, and even though it might not look like things are happening, know that this circle is still being drawn, and it will be closed. It's inevitable. The same way a pendulum swings one way, it has to swing the other way. The same way the night always leads to the day. We don't live in a constant twilight zone. So that's the nature of the way reality works. It unfolds this way always. Swing one way, swing the other way. So keep the faith, stay optimistic, and do whatever work you can to start speaking your truth. Connect with people, even if it's online. Do whatever you can to break those chains in the etheric realm. And once they break in the physical realm, those connections will already be solidified in the etheric realms. And it's just going to catapult us forward into a new era that is going to be much more filled with light and connection and unity and harmony and all those things that we all know we're deserving of. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. I'll see you in the next video. Joel's signing out once again. Agape, Salaam, Namaste.